Rifki Ismal, Ph.D. He graduated with a Ph.D. in Islamic Banking and Finance, told you, from Durham University. He also earned his Master in Economics from University of Michigan and Bachelor in Economics from University of Indonesia, our neighbor. Well, at the moment, he's currently holding the positions of Assistant Secretary General for Technical and Research at the Islamic Finance Services Board, or IFSB, in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. He is also an associate professor at the Australian Centre for Islamic Finance, and his expertise and fields of interest are very multidisciplinary. Just like us in Economics at IWEEK, it includes finance and banking, Islamic economics and finance, Islamic monetary policy, econometrics, as well as social economics development. Well, I'm going to greet Mr. Rifki Ismal today. Good morning, Mr. Rifki Ismal. How do you do?
Alhamdulillah, fine. How are you, Ms. Shima?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very great. It's an honor to have you here with us, and welcome to Universitas Gadjah Mada
Thank
virtually.
you. Same as me.
Well, yeah, thank you very much for for coming to these sessions. Well, I will let Pak Rifki Ismal to take the floor in just a second, okay? And I'm sure that you have read the ground rules, and I hope that you also incorporate that and obey those rules, because we have a very qualified expert today. I want you to make use this opportunity to ask questions and absorb as many lessons as possible. Well, everyone, I know that you are excited for this. Without further ado, I will hand over the floor to Mr. Rifki Ismal. And to Mr. Rifki Ismal, take it away.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih. Thank you, Ms. Shima. Excellencies, Dr. Eko Suwardi, Dean of the Faculty of Economic and Business, University of Gadjah Mada, also Deputy Dean, Professor Mahfud Solihin, my great colleagues. I think last time we met was in airport. Last time, yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Also, I recognize there's also Mr. Dr. Amirullah Setiahadi, Deputy Dean of the faculty as well. Also head of the department. So my colleagues, my old friends, Ibu Diah Putriani. Last time I think I met her in Jordan. Couple of years back, I think 5 or 6 years back. Very long time.
Ago.
How
9 years
many?
ago.
9,
9 years
mashallah.
2012, if I'm not
Wow. Nearly a decade, yeah. Alhamdulillah.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah. Even though we are meeting virtually, but hopefully our silaturahim may not be separated. So thank you so much for having me in the great event. To be honest, I feel very honored. And on behalf of the FSB, I would like to also express our sincere appreciation to the University of Gadjah Mada to let FSB share our experience, our research, and our interaction with the global Islamic finance players. For those of you who are not very familiar with the FSB, I may also introduce you a bit about the institution. FSB is actually Islamic Financial Services Board. It was based in Kuala Lumpur, but actually we are the international institution. So we have 187 members coming from 57 countries. And out of 187 members, we have 81 regulators, mostly central banks. So we are, to be honest, owned by the central banks in the world. Also, we have 10 international organizations like IMF, Islamic Development Bank, Asian Development Bank. A lot of international institutions are members of the FSB. Actually, FSB is mandated to construct, to issue, to produce international regulation for Islamic finance, particularly Islamic banks, Islamic capital market, and takaful. So probably like BIS, for those of you who are familiar with that, Bank for International Settlement, particularly like BCBS, Basel Committee for Banking Supervision. So it is for the Islamic one, we call it FSB. So, and then we are based in Kuala Lumpur because we are facilitated by Bank Negara Malaysia to have the office here. So probably that is the introduction of the FSB. If I can share my slide with you to start the lecture. So let me talk about digital transformation in Islamic banking. Also, for those of you who are not very familiar with Islamic bank, but I do believe that most of you are very familiar. So Islamic banks is now not a very strange banking system in the world. Yeah, like last year, based on the FSB annual report, we noticed the total asset of the global Islamic banking industry was 2.4 trillion US dollar. Can you imagine? 2.4 trillion US dollar. Yeah. This year, even though it is pandemic, but based on our recent annual report to be issued, inshallah, next month, yeah, we notice still a growth of Islamic banking. Can you imagine? In the pandemic condition, the global Islamic banking performance, and even not only Islamic banking, Islamic finance, the one that I say Islamic finance, meaning Islamic bank, Islamic capital market, and takaful industry. We still face a growth of Islamic finance. I cannot say the number, even though I know the number, but let's wait for the for the publication of our annual report, inshallah, next month. You can have it in our website, or you can also contact me to have the file of it. Yeah, we still recognize a positive growth of the industry, which is amazing, alhamdulillah. So this is one of the very promising industry in the world. Yeah? Again, like the topic of our event is regarding the digitalization, the transformation, and in finance, including the Islamic banking. So Islamic bank do recognize, yeah, the transformation in digitalization. Yeah. So this presentation is based on the IFSB actual survey to our members. Yeah, to our members. So we have, as I mentioned, 187 members. Yeah, we survey them just to measure how is it like in Islamic banking, how do they perform transformation in digital, and how do they improve the digital banking system based on the digital transformation. So let me start with section 1, the introduction. Yeah. So in the very tough competition, like in banking industry, usually the winners are those who are able to read the change. Yeah. So the ability to read the change leads to our capability to anticipate everything and make sure that we are not left behind, including in Islamic banking. And luckily, yeah, in many of jurisdictions in the world, most of Islamic banks are owned by the conventional institutions. Like in Indonesia, yeah, it's not a public secret, yeah, that most of Islamic banks in Indonesia are owned by the conventional institution. It is not against the rule because the National Sharia Board allows us, and even it is only limited to the share of the capital. So it doesn't mean that when Islamic banks are owned by the conventional, meaning that they are conventional. Of course, it is not. Yeah, they are only owning the capital, but they are not controlling the operation of Islamic banks. Yeah. So by having conventional institution as the owner and the operation of Islamic banks, which is based on the Islamic principle, so we can say that Islamic banks are also in the platform to transform themselves into digital platform. Yeah. So in this pandemic, what is happening is the accelerated change. So if it is not because of the pandemic, maybe we are not forced to be adaptive to virtual Zoom meeting like today. Yeah. When it comes to digital transformation in banking in general, we can separate it into 3 stages. So in our research, in our survey, we investigate there are 3 stages in the adoption of digitalization in banking, particularly in Islamic banking. We call it incrementalists, digital hybrids, and digital natives. I believe you can see my slides. Yeah? Can you? My slide is clear, isn't it?
Yes, quite clear.
Alhamdulillah, yes. Alhamdulillah.
Great. Yeah.
So the first stage is incrementalist. It is simply adding the digital platform, yeah, into the existing operation. Nothing more than that. So, of course, there are diversity of banks in the world, including Islamic banks. Even in Indonesia, we have full Islamic banks. We have Islamic banking windows. We have Islamic regional banks. We have even Islamic rural banks. So if someone is asking us how many banks, how many Islamic banks are there in Indonesia, we have hundreds. We have hundreds of Islamic banks. If we count Islamic rural banks altogether, yeah. So we have hundreds of Islamic banks. So having diversity of Islamic banks, of course, we have also diversity in the implementation of digitalization in banks. So one stage of them is just adding the digital platform in the existing operation. Like when we have already ATM machine, so meaning we have already a digital platform in our banking system. And then secondly, digital hybrid. Yeah, this is using IT infrastructure in Islamic banking operation. So they do have engagement with customers, but still the main operation of banks are traditional banking models in terms of the infrastructures, risk modeling system, labor models, and others. So the banking system is still, I cannot say traditional, but the ongoing one. So because we haven't had any full transformation of digital Islamic banking. So we have some of them. They are running what is it, ongoing banking model, but they do have inserted IT infrastructure in the banking system. And then thirdly, digital natives. The digital bank in the future will take advantage of the technologies to be assigned for the generation that grew up with computers and smartphones. If you ask any full digital Islamic banks in the world, yes, yeah. So we cannot say that Islamic banks are left behind. No, there are some Islamic banks which are already full digital bank. Yeah, I can notice that there are some in England. Yeah, even in the upcoming FSB event, we are inviting some of full digital Islamic banks in England. Also in Europe, I noticed there is one or also two, yeah, Islamic or full digital banks in the European zone. Yeah, so it is not a strange system in Islamic bank. So then if we come back to the main idea, the correct strategy is crucial, for the sustainability of the industry. Mainly, if we can have some questions, can technology replace the existings of banks? Or maybe another way to deliver it? If you remember, what is it? Jack Ma is saying, banking is okay. Bank is okay, but it doesn't have to be a bank. Meaning, yes, we do need banking, but it doesn't need to be, or it doesn't have to be the current model of bank. So we can have digital banking, we can have digital services, we can have digital supervisory system, we can have digital payment system, everything, even including we can have digital money. So which is now a very crucial issue among the central banks in the world. I can say that because I attended one of the, I can say, a mega event in the BIS a couple of months back. Yeah. There were speakers who are governors of Federal Reserve in New York. Yeah, Central Bank of America. One of the speakers, also governor of the Central Bank of Canada, of Germany, European central banks. They are speakers. So what do they say about digital currency? They said it is now a great phenomenon to have a central bank digital currency, but to be honest, we are still learning on it, because even we realize that money can be digitalized, but from the perspective of the regulators, we think beyond than just the currency itself. We need to ensure that digital money can replace the function of money. Secondly, digital money can also function as the a mechanism for the monetary operation to control the economy. If they can, yes, we can consider. But if they can't, we cannot consider them. Thirdly, we need to ensure that by having digital currency, we can stabilize the economy, because the mandate of the central banks are very crucial. They are mandated to control the economy, to stabilize the economy, and to ensure that all of the main macroeconomic indicators are under control, like inflation, exchange rate, and others. Yeah. So this is a very crucial issues nowadays in the world. So then the second question would be, what kind of bank can be changed by technology? Can it be all of banks, or can it be couple of banks, yeah, to be changed with the technology? And what kind of banks that cannot be changed with technology? So those are very interesting questions that we ask to our members, meaning hundred of our members, yeah. Because FFB, as I mentioned, we have hundreds of members around the world, coming from 57 countries. So one country may have more than one members in the FSP. So the second section, second session that we survey, that we investigate from our members, is regarding the current status of rational for Islamic banks digitalization. So FSB survey asked the respondents on what they perceive about the digital Islamic banking. And then the responses provided generally fits into the definition of digital financial services provided by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Noteworthy response offered by some Islamic banks is that such digital operation is performed on the basis of permissibility offered by the operating license. So even though digital Islamic banks, digital payment system, digital money are all there in the world, but at the end of the day, still we need to have permission from the regulators. Like in Indonesia, if we want to have digital platform, if it is regarding payment, you need to have permission from Bank Indonesia. If it is regarding digital financing, you need to have permission from OJK. If it is beyond, not from the commercial side, like from the social side, if you are offering like Islamic crowdfunding, for example, to collect zakah, to collect awqaf, to collect social funds, you can have permission from the institution having responsibility for Islamic social funds like Baznas, Badan Amil Zakat Nasional, or National Awqaf Body, Badan Wakaf Indonesia. So we have already regulators with this type of various Islamic financial activities. But again, anywhere in the world, I don't find, at least to my understanding, yeah, one single authority responsible for all digital banking, all digital transaction in the economy. So the permissions are coming from certain regulators responsible for certain economic activities, like OJK in Indonesia, for financial institution, like Bank Indonesia for macroeconomics and macroprudential and others. Yeah. And then if we go deeply, yeah, to other specific investigation, Islamic banks consider countering disruptions by new entrants and competition from other incumbents as the most pertinent justification for embarking on digital transformation. So it's very interesting. So they don't think of adopting digitalization as the way to face a new world of Islamic finance. I tend to say it as the new world of Islamic finance. Even the FSB, I mentioned it, even in the very, very crucial meetings of the IFSB shareholders, I mentioned that we are now facing a new world of Islamic finance. Ya. Dunia baru keuangan syariah, ya, in bahasa Indonesia. So even interestingly, when we realize that we are now having a new world of Islamic finance, they don't think that adopting digitalization is the way to face that kind of new world. They just think simply that adopting digitalization is to survive from new entrants, to be competitive with the competitors. It's very interesting based on our survey. Even there are also some findings, if you can see from the slide, yeah, but they are not dominant, like increasing customer value, improve data security. Those are also factors, but those are not dominant as the disruption by new entrants and competition. So both competition and competitors are changing, and Islamic Bank will need to respond accordingly. So probably this comes to the fact because Islamic banks in the world are having a competition with the conventional banking. But hopefully not in Indonesia, because we are not looking at conventional banking as our competitors, because they are our partners, because they are the owner of Islamic banks. We cannot say the owner is our competitor. We should say that the owner is our partner. Yeah. So customer satisfaction, another fact. Customer satisfaction is a very important rationale for Islamic bank engaging in digital transformation in the today's customer-centric financial market. Yeah. So beside survivalness in the competition, they also realize the customer satisfaction and convenience by having technology adoption are two factors, two other factors for Islamic banks to adopt, to adjust the system based on digital platform. So again, because banks is the customer service financial institution, so they need to serve the customers. Yeah, and when the customers are very familiar with digital system, of course, banks need to comply with the customer's expectation. Improvement in data security and technology security in architecture to mitigate against various forms of technological and cyber risk is also indicated as being very important by the responding Islamic banks. Yeah. Again, I tend to say that digitalization is nowadays, but digitalization is not everything. Yeah. To be honest, we are human. We are not a robot. Yeah. Even banks customers are human. Yeah. We are not a robotic. So by having a human, yeah, we need to have like emotional engagement. We need some time to have physical interaction, even though we are now interacting via virtual platform. But one in the time, inshallah, when the pandemic is gone, we pray to Allah for this. We need to have physical interaction, physical meeting. We still need to have that one because we are human. Yeah. So even like if it is bank, including Islamic banking, yeah, even though that we are applying a banking based on the Islamic principle, but having physical interaction, human meeting, human interaction, even like how do we create love? How do we create trust? How do we create good relationship? Yeah, without having physical interaction, because we are human. So again, by having digitalization and then by considering that we are human, we also need to anticipate data security, yeah, also the security for having digital platform. Yeah. And then we also investigate in our survey. Yeah. So like how many of Islamic banks in the world are applying working from home or working from office. Those are very interesting facts that we found. Yeah. Like only 44% of all Islamic banks in the world didn't implement working from home pre-COVID. So most of them are working from office pre-COVID. Yeah. But then Islamic Bank also operate 25% working from home and 75% working from office policy. So right now, some of them, not majority, are operating a hybrid mechanism, work from home and work from office, 25% and 75%. Yeah. But also there are others, 25% working from home and 75% working from office, 25% and working from home, 75%. Currently in the world based on the pandemic, I do believe we also have this type of ratio in Indonesia. Yeah, because Indonesia is still having pandemic and most of the government institutions are encouraged to work from home. Yeah, so majority of the government or the office policies are having 25% working from office and 70%, 75% are working from home. Also, Islamic banks that implement rotational between from home and from office policy since the COVID outbreak, especially those who are very crucial in the economic activities like regulators, yeah, like electricity providers, public transportation. They cannot fully work from home. Yeah. Also, Islamic bank that consider some technical and administrative matters cannot be conducted from home office. Yeah. Also, Islamic bank that consider work from home policy makes them prone to cyber risk. So this is one of the very crucial risks by having digital kind of system nowadays. Yeah. And then other facts that we found, yeah, from the market, from the industry, that most of Islamic banks, 77% cutting across all jurisdictions, indicate that their digital transformation process is in progress. So can you imagine, 77%, yeah, of all Islamic banks in the world are now working for digital transformation process. So we are now transforming our digital banking now in the world. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that Islamic banking is left behind. No, we are now in cope with conventional banking to start and to implement, to adopt digital system. Only 3% or 4% are not ready, yeah, to apply digital transformation in bank. And also in terms of the budget, yeah, 25% of Islamic banks in the world, they consider proportion of digital operations to be moderate, yeah, and a corresponding moderate proportion of IT budget spent on digitalization is indicated 31%. So they tend to allocate more, yeah, for digitalization. And 27% of Islamic banks indicate that a high proportion of the operation is digitalized. Yeah? And 24% indicate they also spend a high proportion of their most recent IT budget on digital transformation. So these is other facts that Islamic banks in the world are allocating more budget to transform themselves, yeah, into a more adaptive Islamic banking system. And then the next section, technology and prudential risks in Islamic banks digitalization. As I mentioned, we cannot say that digital is everything, because when we have digitalization, there are some new risks that we might not face before. Yeah. So responses to the question on various technology advances being adopted by Islamic banks indicate that related digital banking activities are already taking place, as I mentioned. Yeah. So the application of programming interface, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, those are all digital platforms applied in Islamic banks nowadays in the world. Yeah. The subject ledger technology and smart contract, digital identity, Internet of Things, everything. You can have a look in the figure. Yeah. As indicated in figure 6 here, the three most adopted technologies are mobile and digital wallet, 93%, application programming interfaces, and biometric authentication. Yeah. So the possibility of technology externalization due to the proliferation of technology vendors and platforms that offer cloud services would significantly reduce Islamic banks' infrastructure and human resource requirement costs. Currently, for countries which haven't had any technological advances, they may still have a high cost of technological advancement. But for those who have very advanced, like technological disruptions, yeah, they may decrease the cost. With the support from the multilateral organization like ICD in Islamic Development Bank, further options are still being explored by startups to deploy blockchain technology. Even if I remember when I was in Jakarta last year, we had, I mean, not we, yeah, I and some of my colleagues. So I can also say we, yeah, we had a meeting with one of the Islamic Development Bank's representative, yeah, because IDB wanted to have and wanted to develop digital platform for Indonesian Islamic Bank. Can you imagine? The Islamic Development Bank, they came into Bank Indonesia to discuss with us how can we develop the laboratorium and the platform, including the transaction, by having a high fintech system in Indonesian Islamic Bank. So this is very challenging, and this is very appreciated plan from the FSB to Indonesia or for Indonesia. Yeah. Other areas being explored, including using smart contracts based on blockchain technology to automate the entire contractual process of institution offering Islamic financial service. So another facts that we found, yeah, from the survey, yeah, as shown in figure 7, most of Islamic banks, 81% are currently investing in mobile application technology. So I do believe that for those of you who already have Islamic banking account, you can transact by using your mobile phone. Even me in Malaysia, I'm having Islamic banking account here in the local Islamic bank, and whenever I transact, I just use my mobile, yeah, to transact, to transfer, to do anything by using mobile phone. Because we are still having lockdown here in Malaysia starting 1st of June, even until today, even though I'm now at the office. Yeah, so we cannot go to the bank. Even bank are closed. Yeah, there is no bank open now in Malaysia. So we need to have appointment if you want to go to the bank. So because banks are closed, so whenever we transact, we just use mobile phone. In terms of which aspect of Islamic bank, digital transformation is most costly. 44% of the respondents indicated that their highest expenditure is on providing and investing in online platforms and security system. Yeah, because as we are now moving into new era, new world of Islamic finance, as I mentioned, so a huge of investment are allocated into online platform nowadays and security system to protect the digital system adopted in bank, including in Islamic bank. Yeah. Cybersecurity risk seems to be one of the prudential risks facing by Islamic banks. Yeah. Even if you can see from the slide, yeah, from the graph, 76% of all Islamic banks in the world realize that cyber security risk is the most crucial risk by applying a digital platform in bank. Yeah. Even I can also share with you that 2016, I was invited by the Association of Islamic Banks in Malaysia. They invited one representative from Indonesia. I was there. I represented Indonesia in the time, and that is called the Global Islamic Finance Forum, a very prestigious forum, because it was attended by thousands of directors of Islamic banks and Islamic financial institutions in the world. So it wasn't attended by students. No, it was attended only by the president directors, commissioners of all financial institutions in the world. So that was a very prestigious event ever I attended in my life. Yeah. So in that event, yeah, even it was 2016, can you imagine? 2016, we talk about cyber security. Yeah. So the world of Islamic banks in the time, in the event, we talk about cyber security. And we say that in the near future, Islamic banks should be transformed into digital bank. We realized that one, yeah, from 2016. So again, cyber is one of the very crucial items discussed nowadays and even from the past. In terms of data security risk, again, data is a very crucial one in banking, also in other non-banking as well, even in the regulators. Yeah, data is one of the very crucial items to be maintained. Yeah, even including to be protected from the risk, yeah, from other type of digital risk. Yeah, mobile device manufacturers and third-party wallets. And then Section 4, challenges and regulatory approach to Islamic banks digitalization, is very interesting because based on the responses, 74% of Islamic banks indicated that legacy infrastructure and technologies impede their response to changing market dynamic and competition driven by the technology. 57 of Islamic banks in the world, yeah, agree that lack of the requisite human capital needed for digitalized banking is a very strong point nowadays. Yeah. So despite of the intention to have digital platform to transform the banking model, yeah, into more adaptive to the current situation, legacy infrastructures and technologies are very crucial point. Yeah. Declared by most of Islamic banks in the world. Also human capital. We do realize that not all of the persons in banks or in Islamic finance are adaptable, are adjustable, are very friendly with digital system. Now we can say that currently we have generation X, generation Y, also baby boomers. Yeah. Probably some of the lectures in University of Gajah Mada are coming from baby boomers or coming from generation X. Yeah. But most of, I do believe that students in University of Gajah Mada are coming from millennials who are very familiar, yeah, who are very adaptive with digital system. Yeah. So the lectures and also the content of the event is very very in line, yeah, with the millennials. Yeah. So human capital is a very strong issue, even not only in Islamic banks, but for conventional banks as well. Yeah, because we need to prepare our human resources, yeah, to be compliant with the banking system, with the digital banking. Even I can share with you, because I'm in FSB now. So one of the organs in the FSB is Sharia Board. Yeah, in Indonesia we call it Dewan Syariah Nasional, but in the IFSB we call it Sharia Board. So IFSB Sharia Board is coming from Islamic Development Bank Sharia Board. So if you, for those of you who are very familiar with Islamic Bank, you must be familiar with the name like Sheikh Taki Usmani, yeah, Sheikh Abdullah Al Mani, Sheikh Haruki. Those are very famous names, yeah, in the world of Islamic finance, and they are our Sharia board members, yeah, IFSB Sharia board members. And how old are they? They are 70s, they are 80s. But last year we were so upset, we were so said that three of our Sharia board passed away. May Allah bless them. Yeah, because they are quite senior, 80 something, 70 something. So when we now have a meeting, virtual meeting with the Sharia board, because we are enforced to have virtual meeting. So most of them, can you imagine, 70s, 80s, they are not familiar with digital systems. So we are quite struggle. So we need to ask someone to teach them, to guide them how to operate a laptop, yeah, in order to join the virtual Sharia board meeting, because they are 80 something, they are 70 something. So those are very challenging ones. So another fact that we found, yeah, from the survey, that RSA, meaning regulatory and supervisory agency, yeah, the regulators are adopting different regulatory approaches toward digitalization banking operations. Some of them adopt bespoke digital banking license, but also some not. Yeah, majority of Islamic banks also responded that there are no specific digital banking regulations. So those like coming from small countries in the world, like probably I'm not going to say certain countries, but countries which have like less developed Islamic banking system, they may not have proper regulation to allow Islamic banks to adopt their digital system. But those who are coming from advanced countries, having like accelerated Islamic bank, they do have regulation for like accelerating the adoption of digital system in banks. And then probably this is the last section, I believe. Yeah. Financial stability implication of the digital transformation in Islamic bank. Yeah. In terms of the financial stability implication of digitalization, 78% of the respondents, yeah, indicate that positive competition would be heightened due to entrance of disruptors. Yeah. So by having digitalization, we do hope that the positive competition might appear. Yeah. And again, this is the one that we say the new world of Islamic finance. Even not Islamic finance, conventional finance is also having the new world, the post-pandemic. Yeah, 65% of the respondents supported that the few that the regulatory challenge in balancing the objective of facilitating innovation while ensuring financial stability inhibits the provision of clear policy guidelines. Yeah. So again, regulatory challenge, yeah, regulatory guide, supervisories are all very important. Yeah. So meaning that the regulator should nowadays prepare for having regulation for digital banking, digital supervision, yeah, digital like a license and others digital based system. Yeah. Even like in the global system, we might have like a digital or international payment system, in an international digital payment system. Yeah. So when we transfer money from Indonesia to other parts of the world, we can just use our mobile phone, yeah, by doing international transfer. That is one of the examples to have international digital payment system platform. Yeah. Furthermore, discussion around central banks creating their own digital currency are gaining traction. As I mentioned in my participation of the BIS platform, BIF virtual meeting, that was a very limited meeting at that time. I think last month or 2 months back, attended by some central banks governors, as I mentioned. They are talking about the central bank digital currency, the one that I mentioned before. So they are still thinking about that. They need to ensure that this type of currency can comply with the policy, with the current policy, with the mandate to stabilize the economy, the financial system. Yeah. So this is the last section, conclusion recommendation. The adoption of innovative technology and business models is a prominent emerging trend right now. And also digitalization of the operation of Islamic banks has implication for the financial stability of Islamic financial services industry in terms of how the incumbent respond to digital transformation process and its consequential increased possibility for new disruptors to enter the market, thus heightening the competition. The regulators need to be cognizant of the potential new risks that digital Islamic banking poses as they coordinate prudential regulation and competition policy. Yeah, like safeguarding data privacy, cybersecurity, customer protection, consumer financial health, and other type of risks. Another is that I can share with you that when we have all of our human activities based on digital system, can you imagine when we want to move, for example, coming out from home, we use digital transportation, Gojek or Grab, for example. And then when we want to eat, we just use Grab food. And when we want to go to the hospital, we use like telemedicine, everything digital. And we want to transfer money, we use mobile digital banking. When all of human activities are based on digital system, there is one very important, crucial risk, which is a concentrated risk. Yeah? Meaning that when everything is digitalized, and then when other parties want to disrupt, want to endanger the country, they just interrupt the internet system or the digital system, and everything is gone. Yeah. So just for one example, when internet system in Indonesia, for example, I may say internet system in Indonesia is disrupted. There is a problem with internet system in Indonesia just for 5 minutes, for example. Doesn't have to be 1 hour, just 5 minutes. So the transportation, the health sector, the banking system, non-banking system, everything may collapse. That is one of the very crucial risks that every country should be taking care of. Yeah, it's a very serious one. So yes, we can have a digital system, but we need to anticipate this type of very crucial risk. Even we need to still have what do we call it, manual transaction. Yeah, even as a backup. Yeah, like when we transact in banking, and we do like having mobile transaction, but we still need to print the transaction. At least for myself, I need to print my every digital transaction just for my own. Yeah, even just to anticipate if there is something happening with the banking system, I still have a backup for my banking transaction. Yeah, and then okay, thank you. That is all of my sharing. Thank you so much. If you have question, more than happy to discuss it. Thank you. Any question from the participants? Am I moderated or just directly interact with the participants? Miss
You
Shima?
are allowed to interact directly with the participants,
Okay,
just like in
good.
a class.
Okay, Alhamdulillah. I'm a lecturer, to be honest.
Yes. And use your students, your virtual students from UGM.
Yeah. Any question from participants? Oh,
I think Cita Malia, she
oh yeah,
raised
yeah.
hand
Please,
here.
please, please.
Hello, Professor. Thank you for the time that had been given to me. I'm really amazed to see your presentation, and especially I had been reading one of your papers regarding the Islamic hedging for pilgrimage funds. Yes, I mean it's really interesting to see your paper, and as far as I know that you mentioned about blockchain activities in your paper. So maybe could you please explain it to me, to us, all of us, since I think it would be a really good example to implement a blockchain system in the like Islamic hedging. And I've really wanted to learn a lot from you, and it's really a great opportunity to learn from you as of right now. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. A very interesting question. To be honest, when we talk about hedging, it is in the earliest stage of the development. Even I can say it based on my individual experience, yeah, because despite of working now in the FSB, I am a center banker. I work in Bank Indonesia. I'm also member of the National Sharia Board. So the vice president is my boss. Kiai Maruf Amin is the head of Majelis Ulama Indonesia, in which I am one of the members, so from representing Bank Indonesia. So when we discuss about hedging, it is very huge debate in the National Sharia Board about hedging. One of the questions, is it allowed from the Sharia principles? And then from the Bank Indonesia perspective, I attended one of the meeting in the other international organization, namely International Islamic Financial Market. Yeah, International Islamic Financial Market. That is another international institution specifically for financial market in the world for Islamic. So I came to Bahrain to attend the meeting. And then the meeting among the directors, among the head of the members, yeah, of the institution, of the organization. And we discussed about hedging. Interestingly, they said that hedging is still debatable in the Middle East. They do have hedging mechanism, like in the Middle East. They use wa'adain, if I may say Arabic terminology, wa'adain. And Indonesia, I presented my Indonesian model. I said we adopt a muwa'adah model. The Middle East called, we are using wa'adain model. Okay, and they said, your model is not allowed. I said, no, you cannot say, because we can also say your model is not allowed, because each of us has our own thought, has our own school of thought. So Indonesia has its own thought on hedging, and Middle East and Malaysia as well. Yeah, Malaysia is adopting like profit sharing, Islamic profit rate swap as a hedging. Yeah, mubadalatul arba'ah in Arabic terms. Yeah. So each of the countries, each of the country has their own or its own model for hedging. But for Hajj, yeah, since Indonesia has had fatwa verdict on hedging, yeah, we have tahawud al-Islami, yeah, hedging, Islamic hedging. We have tahawud al-Basit, simple hedging, tahawud al-Muraqab, complicated hedging, and tahawud fi suq al-Sil'ah, tahawud with commodity trading. We have 3 models in hedging. But currently, we are still educating the public, the players, about hedging. Yeah. So even if you connect or if you ask myself, yeah, on how do we insert this type of hedging in the blockchain, still far away. So blockchain is now concentrated to allocate banking transaction, banking platform, like how can we monitor the banking financing? How can we, sorry, it is in Bank Negara office. Probably there is announcement. Do you hear that?
Yes.
Sorry about this. I think we need to wait for a while. It's gone already. Sorry for the announcement. So again, regarding the blockchain, currently in the world and in Indonesia, we are still compiling banking financing, banking licensing, banking monitoring, supervising in one platform. Yeah. But even from the regulator's perspective, we haven't implemented a very comprehensive kind of blockchain system, yeah, to serve our banking industry. Still in the process, yeah, still in the process. Even in the world, as you saw from my presentation, they are still ongoing. 77% of all Islamic banks in the world, they are still processing for having full digital system in their operation.
Okay, thank you so much for the explanatory, sir. It's really great to explain it by you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have two more, I think, from the audience, which is Muhammad Arif Rajendra as well as James Nicholas. So I think Arif can go first.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Thank you also, sir, for the delightful presentation. So maybe I can go right into my question. So considering you spoke earlier about the blockchain technology, I wanted to ask, considering that the digitalization of Islamic banking is quite on the rise, do you think that with the digitalization and the growth of Islamic banks, that there could be a resurgence in the use of dinar dirham in the economy? Because I've seen the concept in a book by Sheikh Umar Ibrahim Vadilo, and he talks about how we could use the blockchain technology in order to implement the dinar and dirham in our present context. So do you think that with such growth that there could be a possibility in the resurgence of using such currency?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Another good question. I'm so impressed with the participants. Yeah, I do believe that you are the future of Indonesian young generation, to be honest. For some reason. First, your English are very good. Secondly, you're very fluent in speaking English, mashallah. If I compare with my generation, at least, my generation, Professor Mahmoud generation, we are old generation. Unless we study abroad, we cannot speak English fluently, to be honest. Yeah, Pak Mahfud, yeah. Because we study abroad, alhamdulillah, so we can have exposure on speaking English. But for those who currently just stay in Indonesia, but you speak English very fluently, I was amazed, for example, to be honest. So regarding dinar dirham, yeah, regarding dinar dirham, it is another controversial issue, if I may say. There is application of dinar and dirham, yeah, in some market in Indonesia, even though there was an issue there when I do believe that you have heard, you have read from the media that there was an application of dinar in certain market, yeah, in Indonesia, and there was certainly an action from the police regarding that one. I don't want to talk about that, but regarding dinar and dirham, it is, to be honest, a currency in the era of the Prophet. Yeah, for those scholars who are very keen with the application of this dinar dirham, they may say that dinar dirham is the currency of the Prophet, and in order to maintain the stability of the currency, to reduce the inflation, to maintain the stability of the economy, we need to apply dinar and dirham. That is true, to be honest. That is true. But to be honest, when we think that dinar dirham is the only way to stabilize the economy, that is the problem. That is the problem. Because why? In the era of the Prophet, yeah, if we flash back, yeah, in the era of the Prophet Rasulullah, yeah, dinar and dirham was there with the assumption that there was no derivative market of gold. Secondly, there was no gold market. Then thirdly, gold is used for currency, for certain things, and for the investment for the other thing. Yeah. So there is a clear distinction between gold to be used as currency and gold to be used as a commodity. But currently, in nowadays, yeah, in our life now, we might see that yes, dinar, gold can be used as a commodity because we can purchase gold in the gold store. We can purchase gold, yeah, a bar gold, yeah, or any type of gold, a ring made by gold, everything. But gold can also be functioning as currency. That is the problem. For example, if I have a gold, original gold, yeah, and then I bring this gold to anywhere in the world, can I sell it? Of course, I can sell it because anybody, any country in the world, they accept gold, original gold, yeah? Original gold, not fake gold, original gold. Meaning that gold can function as currency, even though they are not currency. That is the problem. Because when we use gold as a currency or gold to be functioning as currency, and the gold itself is having a market, is having a derivative transaction, is having a speculative transaction, it may create problem. Because in the era of the Prophet, there was no speculation in gold. There was no derivative market. There was no gold market. Gold is purely used for currency. Yeah? And then another reason, can we apply gold or dinar and dirham by using a blockchain? Let me think. First, blockchain is a platform, yeah, to compile the transaction. Firstly, regulators need to have a look on this. Yeah. When the regulators do not recognize the usage of gold as a currency, it is illegal. Yeah. Like Bank Indonesia, we have issued our press release that gold is not a legal tender. Yeah, gold is not a legal tender. That is press release from Bank Indonesia. Meaning, if you transact with gold, dinar, for example, dirham, for example, made by silver, that is at your own risk. Yeah, that is at your own risk. Government is not responsible for that. Even if it is said illegal, there is legal consequences. Legal consequence if you are using or if you are transacting with gold, with dinar or dirham, because it is not stipulated in our legal currency, legal or act. Yeah. So again, regulators need to have a look on this, particularly not only the item itself, but also the adoption of dinar and dirham as a currency, for example, as a currency. And then thirdly, we need to mitigate any potential speculative motive. Yeah, if there is a speculative motive based on gold, based on silver, based on this type of metal currency, the government, the regulators need to combat this type of speculative activities. Cannot be allowed in the economy. Yeah. So again, I may not say that it is right or wrong because still ongoing. Yeah, still ongoing, and then the regulators need to have a look on this. Yeah, but having gold for commodity, fine. If you want to purchase gold for your collection, yeah, for your investment, meaning that if you have, for example, how much is a bar of gold, for example, 10 million, say, I have 10 million rupiah and I want to purchase a gold, yeah, from the gold mark, from the gold store. Yeah. And I want to have it just to convert my 10 million money into gold. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah. But if I want to speculate, that's the problem. To speculate my gold in order to have profit coming from that one, that is called riba al-fadl. Yeah. From the Sharia perspective. If I purchase gold today and then I sell it this afternoon, for example, I get profit from that. That is called riba al-fadl. If I maintain the gold for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, whatever, not today, and I receive profit from that, it is called riba an-nasi'ah. So everything is riba if it is coming from gold. I mean, saying not gold as a metal, but saying as currency, because in Islam, we cannot have profit coming from currency. Profit can come from real economic transaction, real business, investment, leasing, trading, anything real, but not coming from selling currency, selling gold, which is currency, and gaining profit coming from that. That is riba. Be careful. And it is agreed by all of the Islamic scholars in the world. None of the scholars is saying that selling gold for profit is not riba. All of them say that is riba. That is riba. Be careful. Prof. Mahmud is one of the experts on this as well. Any more questions?
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for the the very insightful presentation, Mr. Rifki. You mentioned that 77% of the international Islamic banks is in the process of transforming into digitalization. I want to know more about the time and momentum aspect. Why is it only recently that the majority of these Islamic banks uh, is in the progress of digitalization? Why is it not later in the future or maybe earlier in the past? Because as you mentioned, there is 4% of the Islamic banks that has fully transformed digitally earlier. So I just want to know the.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good question. Good question. For some reasons. First, because they are enforced by the pandemic. Yeah. IFSB other surveys last year, conducted last year. We surveyed our members, yeah, in order to identify their reactions on the pandemic. Their earlier reaction on the pandemic, yeah, 2020. They said we are starting to transform our banking system. 2020, when pandemic outbreak, yeah, when we started, and they started as well to transform the banking system. That is coming from our Islamic banking members. Yeah. Also, the regulators of the IFSB members. So they declare that in our jurisdictions, in our country, Islamic banks, conventional banks are all transforming. Okay, we said that's good, alhamdulillah, because we are enforced by the pandemic situation. And then secondly, because the conventional banks are transformed themselves into digital-based banking system. So, of course, the subsidiary, yeah, or like Islamic banking units, like in Indonesia, they're also following the parent bank. Yeah. When the parent banks are transforming the banking system, and the subsidiaries, the the units, Islamic bank units, they also start to transform themselves. And then thirdly, they realize that post-pandemic, we cannot rely on the current banking system. Yeah, at least in IFSB, we agree that what type of transformation to be pursued, yeah, in post-pandemic, even the current situation, three transformation. Yeah, it is not in my slide. First, we call it transformation of the banking business model. Yeah, all of the banking business model should be changed. Yeah, like how do they collect deposits? How do they issue securities? How do they monitor the financing? How do they mitigate risk? All of type of banking models should be changed into digital-based banking system. Yeah. Secondly, the human resource. As that is why this one is mentioned in my slide, yeah, in the survey as well. So human resource is one of the very crucial aspect, yeah, in the digital banking transformation. So when we talk about human resources, as I mentioned, it starts from the management, from the staff, from the Islamic scholars, the ulama, yeah, even like securities, yeah, clerics, operationals, everything, yeah, office boy, everything. All types of human related banking, they are all transformed into digital based human. I mean, they need to comply, they need to understand, they need to be adaptable with this type of new system. Thirdly, the transformation of the technology, because digital is part of the technology. So like they do have already technology, but the technology itself may not be digital based. Yeah, may not be a digital based technology. So they need to have a digital based technology. Yeah. As I mentioned, I mean, in my previous slide, yeah, and for the payment system, they need to have digital based payment system. They need to have digital based supervisory or monitoring, currency, everything. I mean, need to be digital. But again, digital is not everything. That is the main message. Digital is not everything, but that is the real life digitalization. The one that we need to do is we can transform our system into digital, but we need to also anticipate risk coming from digital system. Yeah. Again, in the near future, currently we are now processing. Yeah, in the near future, inshallah, if we can solve the problem of pandemic next year. I heard what is it? University. I'm not remember. I don't remember the name of the university, but they estimate that the pandemic will end, inshallah, 2023. Still, but that is the estimation. I don't think anybody can estimate when pandemic can end. But at least that is one for the estimation. Yeah, if we can say 2023 is the end of the pandemic, so hopefully the full digital banking system can start fully operating in 2023. Oh yeah, could be Harvard University epistemologist. Yes, correct. But I don't think anybody can have estimation because pandemic, to be honest, I mean, mathematics cannot estimate the social phenomena, to be honest. You can adopt any type of advanced mathematical formula, but this is a social life. We cannot estimate once there is a new variant of pandemic, a new variant of COVID comes in, a new break may come in. So we cannot know. Even that I've heard that there are 200 variants of COVID-19. Allahu Akbar. 200 variants. MashaAllah. If we realize this, how can we end this pandemic? But then another message, another important message from my side is Islamic finance is not particularly for Muslim. This is for human. Yeah. We find a non-Muslim as the president director of Islamic Bank. We find non-Muslim as like CEO of Islamic banks. A lot of them. Even like when I studied my PhD in the UK, my PhD supervisor was non-Muslim. Yeah, he was awarded the IDB Nobel Prize. Yeah. So Islamic Development Bank, they have like what we call it Nobel Prize for Islamic finance, and it was awarded to my professor, one of my professors, and he was a non-Muslim. He is retired now. He is not lecturing anymore because he was quite old. But in that time, I believe 2014, he was awarded a Nobel Prize in Islamic economics by Islamic Development Bank. So this is for the human, because the system itself, the system of Islamic economic is coming from like a religion, if I say that, because like prohibition of riba, prohibition of speculation, uncertainty, and others not acceptable economic transactions are not only claimed by Muslim, but also claimed by non-Muslim. You can have prohibition of riba in Bible. You can find prohibition of riba in Torah. What is it? The holy book of Jews, they call it Torah. I mean, Muslim call it Taurat. Kitab Taurat, yeah, and Torah. Yeah. So they claim that interest is prohibited. Even if I may share, until 1917, interest is still prohibited in England. Can you imagine? 1917, interest is still prohibited in England. England is fully, I mean, a majority of the England people are Christian. Because in Bible, interest is prohibited. And they prohibited interest until 1917. until in that time Queen Elizabeth I, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the Queen permitted small percentage of interest to be applied just to accommodate inflation in the economy, but still small amount. Yeah. So again, this is the idea. This is the thought. Yeah, the idealism of a monotheist religion, if I may say. Yeah. So this is the concept for human. More question?
Thank you, Miss Shima, for the opportunity. First, I would like to say thank you for the explanation, Mr. Rifki Ismal. It's very insightful and valuable. I would like to to say that I agree that during this pandemic there are some accelerations happen, like digital transformation, and just like you said, there are some risks that raises, such as cybersecurity risk. And speaking as a customer of the several banks, I think uh, for me as a customer, there are some insecurities about using this digital platform because, as you know, we're afraid that our data or our asset may be stolen or anything else, just like recent news about Tokopedia. And maybe some of the banks are aware of this issue and maybe it's been developed. But while we're waiting until this development to be finalized, how can we make sure that during this time we can also have safety about transaction a safety transaction during our use in this digital platform. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Thank you, very interesting question. Yeah. First, regulators should anticipate any potential risk. Yeah. So, like they issue regulations to mitigate any potential risk, to limit the activities by using digitalization, yeah? And then to require the players to apply some kind of mitigative tools, yeah, to combat any misuse of digital platform. Secondly, it can come from the association of Islamic banks, if it is banks, or association of Islamic non-banks, on including for the convention. The association also protect themselves from the potential risk by having digital platform. Yeah. Thirdly, from the National Sharia Board, yeah, from the SN in Indonesia, we do limit the application of digital platform, including the potential of impermissible Sharia contract, like as I mentioned, riba, goror, maisir. It is not allowed in Islamic bank based on fatwa, verdict, or ruling from National Sharia Board. Yeah. Fourthly, international institutions like FSB, we issue regulation, yeah, to be followed by international institution, yeah, by international countries, to be complied with the international best practices for implementing digital platform. Yeah, but currently we are not saying that we have specific standard for digital platform, but we do insert some digital application in our regulations. We do notify that Islamic banks have adopted digital platform in their operation. So we insert it, yeah, this type of digital platform, digital application in our regulation. Yeah, for at least guards. Yeah, and of course another one, of course, the IT person itself. Yeah, when a bank, for example, or non-bank, yeah, they do have a massive adoption of digital system. They do have to have a very specific digital system department, yeah, to protect the bank itself from the potential risk. Yeah. Also, even like very strong or strengthening the top management specializing in information system or IT technology, yeah, to strengthen the monitoring, the application of technology advancement in the bank. At least five, yeah, five protections, yeah, five protection to prevent our interaction with bank. But again, we are interacting with human, as I mentioned. Depositors are human. We are human. Yeah. So we cannot avoid that. Even though we socialize, we educate people, we already have a digital platform, like we have e-deposit, we have e-sukuk, but it comes back at the end of the day to the trust from depositors. When they don't trust us, so how come we can have a transaction with them? So like for the sukuk investors, we have informed about e-sukuk, for example, to the potential investors. But at the end of the day, they still don't trust. That is digital based. I don't trust digital system. Okay, even though we have explained that we have a couple of protections from the regulators, from the association, from the ulama, from the IT department to protect this type of operation. But it comes back to the trust, yeah, from the investors, from the depositors, from the person. Yeah. So yeah, at least continuous education, continuous socialization is always there. Any more question, Miss Wilma? Are you working in Bank Syariah Indonesia?
Yes, currently I work in Bank Syariah Indonesia.
Because Prof Mahfud is texting here. You are working in Bank Syariah Indonesia.
Yes. Can I add that beside the trust of the customer, maybe the necessity also encourage us to use this digital platform? Yeah?
Yes, exactly. Yes. When we don't think that we need that, we may not proceed with that one. Yeah, but if we think it is urgent need, so we will do that. Yeah. But again, sometimes when we think that we need to adopt a certain system, it can be coming from the assessment, or it can also coming from like a situation like the pandemic. Anybody need to adapt with the new situation, like virtual meeting, virtual lecture, virtual transaction, mobile banking transaction. We are enforced to do this. Yeah. But previously, probably some of us probably comfortable with this, but some of them are not comfortable. We are still coming to the bank, like myself. So I frequently come to Bank Syariah Indonesia in front of Bank Indonesia in Jakarta. I feel comfortable if just come to the office, look at the officer, transact with the paper. Probably I'm quite old generation. So to be honest, before I came to KL, I have never used any mobile banking transaction. Can you imagine? Never use mobile banking transaction. Because of what? Because very classic reason. The bank is in front of my office, very close. So I just crossing the street from the office to come to Bank Syariah Indonesia and transact. If I want to transfer, if I want to deposit, it's simple while having lunch. So, but since I'm here, so there is no bank now. I mean, none of the bank is opening now. They just transacting by mobile phone. And again, yeah, it comes back to the trust and the need of the customer. Yeah, and other reason, of course. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we're guarded by several organizations, so we're safe.
Yeah,
after all.
inshallah. At least you can say it to the customers.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sir. May I ask question?
Sure, sure, sure.
Okay. Thank you so much for the really insightful presentation. So, my question is related with what you explained before, that it's related to the trust, how to build trust with the customers. So, as you mentioned, also that we are changing, the Islamic Bank is transforming into the if can we are you are hoping that it will be fully digitalized. So my question is how to build the emotional engagement with your customers and how to build the trust with them if let's say all the transaction it can do by digital. So how you engage with them? I just want to know that about that.
That is very difficult question. Even that is uh, one of the bottleneck, if I may say, when we develop Islamic finance in Indonesia. Yeah. Why I do say that one? Because Indonesia is a Muslim majority country, 88%, depending on the survey, 88% or 87% of Indonesian population are Muslim. So Islamic banking shares should be more than 50%. But why do we still have 6 point something percent share of Islamic banking? One of the answers is trust. Of course, trust. If the people, they do trust Islamic bank, they will leave conventional bank, to be honest. Arabic say, Wallahi. Wallahi. They said the Arabic people, the Middle East people, they will say, Wallahi. Human Muslim people in Indonesia, they will leave totally conventional banking if they trust Islamic banking. But what's the fact? The trust still a question. But we cannot give up. Of course, we cannot give up. But at least, some of the findings that I might share, based on Bank Indonesia survey, based on OJK surveys, Minister of Finance, the regulators, one of fact that we found, a majority of Muslim people, they have double accounts. They have conventional account, they have Islamic account, meaning that they are not fully conventional. They do have Islamic account, but Islamic account is not the only one. Like my case, if I say I have conventional account, to be honest, but that is, to be honest, only for paying water bill, water bill, electricity bill, because in my Islamic bank, there is no kind of facility to pay water bill online. So I use conventional. So I just put 1 million or half million rupiah in my conventional account just to pay regularly the water bill. So that is the first question. I mean, not the first, the first finding. So Indonesian Muslim, Indonesian people, they do have double accounts. Secondly, they wait and see. They want to have a look. They want to have approval from banking system, Islamic banking system, whether they are competitive, they are comprehensive, they are adapting the current system, they are digital based, they are like facilitating a lot of customer needs, like transferring money, like e-money, everything. Even if I may share, I don't think, lastly, there is one, Islamic Bank issuing, what do we call, Islamic credit card, something like that. Yeah. Lastly, there was one, but it failed, to be honest. There was no demand, mashallah. There was no demand. One of Islamic bank, they started to issue Islamic credit card, but there was no demand and it failed. Again, lately, there was another one trying to propose Islamic credit card. Because there is a fatwa from National Sharia, but there is a challenge because of what? Because again, the trust. People trust conventional card, especially for traveling abroad. They trust like Citibank card or Standard Chartered or foreign banks card, in order to transact internationally. So again, trust is the big one. So how do we solve this? First, we need to have a deep interaction with the public. We need to continuously educate the public. Even it is like education, socialization. There's a common term. Yes, it is, but still relevant. Still relevant. The point is, how do we educate them? How do we approach them? That is the problem. For example, can we approach them via digital platform? Can we approach them via like media, social media, for example? We just use a common media like TV. That is quite common. But if we use Facebook, for example, Instagram, for example, TikTok, for example, to educate people with Islamic banks, Islamic finance, for sukuk, everything, can be a new approach, yeah, for gaining trust from the people. Secondly, the ulama itself. I do mention this to my colleagues in National Ulama Council, yeah, because we have some prominent ulama having, I may say, 1,000 people, 1,000 followers. Who was Abdul Somad? Yeah. Who else? Yusuf Mansur. Well, you can mention a very prominent Islamic scholars in Indonesia who have a lot of jamaah, a lot of followers. Imagine if they can socialize Islamic finance. Mama Dede, have you ever found in Mama Dede, what is it? A movie? What is it? Movie? A TV station, TV event, in one of the TV. Have you ever heard that Mama Dede is saying about like Islamic finance contract? I don't think so. She is concentrating on akidah side, or hablum minanas, interacting with human or with others. But that is homework, like Ajim, for example. So this type of very prominent ulama can be educated by the National Ulama Council, and then they can socialize Islamic. And then thirdly, we can also engage with the Muslim conglomerates. Yeah. No matter how active we are to educate people, but there are some conglomerates who are Muslim and very potential to be depositors of Islamic bank. Yeah. So like when we approach students and they do believe with Islamic bank, and when they open account, probably like 100,000 only to open a bank account, but the conglomerates may invest 1 trillion, 100 trillion, because they are conglomerates. But we haven't approached this person. So again, there are many approaches that we can pursue to gain trust from the people. But trust is very difficult. Again, we need to prove, yeah, we need to prepare, and we need to be compatible with the current situation. If we cannot compete, I'm not saying that competition is bad. No, competition is good in terms of the positive competition. And then when we conventional and Islamic, we are all in a competitive situation, in the very strong competition to adopt with the digital system. That is good. There is nothing wrong with that.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer, sir. It's really challenging, I guess. So yeah, but yeah, I hope that you will success with all your plannings in the future. Thank you. Thank you for the time, Bu Shima.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. If you find that Islamic finance is interesting, I would encourage you to study further, to take a postgraduate degree in Islamic finance. Even in, I can mention that there is a program on Islamic finance in Oxford, in Cambridge, yeah, if you want, in Sorbonne University in France. Yeah. So those advanced or those leading top university in the world, they do recognize and they do provide Islamic finance program.
So, Pak Rifki Ismal, what is next for Islamic banking then? Because now I think incremental innovation is not sufficient anymore. You need to be disruptive. So, what will be next? What kind of things that is going to be the breakthrough of Islamic finance and banking?
Yeah. based on the real fact, that we find from our members. Again, the members coming from 57 countries. In the pandemic, we are quite survived. I think 3 times we surveyed our members in the beginning of the pandemic, ongoing of the pandemic, and lately. And they claim that they are survived from the pandemic. Alhamdulillah. Islamic banking, still positive. Islamic capital market, takaful industry, all are still positive. They still face positive growth in the industry. And then secondly, they said they are now transforming the system into digital base. Even they integrate the commercial with the social one. So we find is social sukuk, a platform to collect zakah, to collect awqaf, online platform. So that is a new kind of probably transformation in Islamic finance. So we are not only focusing on commercial side, but also on social side. Because in the pandemic, we need to push social finance. Thirdly, some of Islamic banks, they also realized to apply a fully green Islamic finance, like green economy, green sukuk. So we realized that the project of Islamic finance, sukuk, for example, should be complied with the category of green financing. Also, lately, some of them also realized that they want to have sustainable financing, meaning the financing should not be interrupted. And another fact, which shows the beauty of Islamic finance, they do apply the forgiveness of interest payment, not interest, because in Islam there is no interest, installment payment, margin payment. When there is an Islamic contract, we apply trading-based contract. When the customer purchase a commodity and they pay it via trading mechanism, they pay it a principal and the margin. So in the pandemic, some of Islamic banks forgive the payment for the margin. No need to pay for the margin. And even apply moratorium. No need to pay anything until the end of pandemic. So it release the economic pressure in some Islamic banking customers. So that is showing the beauty of Islamic finance. And like Islamic rural banks in Indonesia, they apply Qard Hasan contract. If you are not familiar with that, Qard is a charitable loan or benevolent loan. That is a loan. For example, if you need 1 million as a loan for your personal needs, I'm an Islamic bank, I give you 1 million. No excess, no discount. When will you return? Probably next month. Fine. Next month you will return 1 million. Nothing more, nothing less than that. That is called Qard Hasan contract. And the application of Qard Hasan is widespread, alhamdulillah. So that is showing another uniqueness or distinctiveness of Islamic banking, Islamic finance, compared with the convention.
I see. And how many is that? Are there the total amount of Islamic financial products that we can have in Indonesia? I heard that there are 15 in the more advanced economies, but in Indonesia there are only like 4 or 5 that can be accommodated by our current market. So how do you see that?
Interestingly, despite discussing about Islamic finance, in the world there are some school of thought in Islamic finance. Like, I do believe you are all familiar, Hanafi, Shafi'i, Maliki, Hanbali school of thought. They are not different, they are the same, but in terms of the practices, there are some differentiation. Like in Malaysia, Islamic banks here are dominating, I believe, more than 30%, 30% of the banking system. Indonesia only 6 point something percent, 6.7, 6.8%. But does it mean that Malaysia is advanced? No, particularly. Why? Because Malaysia is adopting a contract which is not acceptable by many jurisdictions. Yeah, like in the Middle East, they don't apply that contract. Indonesia doesn't apply that contract. What type of contract? Bay al-Aina, Tawaruk, Bay al-Wafa, Bay al-Dain. Those are common contract in the Middle East, in Malaysia. They do believe that this is allowable. But in Indonesia, we said, no, it is not allowable based on our National Sharia Board verdicts, rules. So, yeah, there could be some limitation in the type of contract. But if you have a look at the codification of Islamic banking product issued by OJK, there are a lot of lists, list of banking products, Islamic banking products, to be offered by Islamic Bank in Indonesia. But in terms of the contract, Indonesia only adopt a contract which are agreed by all of the school of thought, like Motoroba, Musyarakah, Ijara, Salam, Istisna, no debatable on that. So we are adopting this type of contract. But of course, other jurisdiction may have different thought. Yes, they can, because they have their own Sharia scholars. Yes, but in total, there is no, agreement. There is an attempt like IOV, Accounting Organization for Islamic Financial Institution. They issue verdict, fatwa on certain contract, including a debatable contract to be applied by jurisdiction. But it comes back to the jurisdiction whether we want to apply that or not.
I see. So I was thinking that it would be like Malaysia has more advanced infrastructure so that it can accommodate. So it's just due to different jurisdictions and different interpretations. That's very insightful.
Another one.
Yeah.
There is a policy from the head of the country in Malaysia, like 1980, to require all of the state budget to be deposited only in Islamic banks. So can you imagine if all of our state budget, APBN, is only deposited in Islamic banks? Can you imagine how big is our Islamic bank? That is in Malaysia.
That's massive, yeah.
That is the decision coming from the head of the country. So no wonder they can have a huge market share.
Yes, exactly. Oh, okay. That's very interesting. And I also wanted to highlight your comments about why Islamic Council in Indonesia, through our ustads, for example, like the religious clergy, they do not really promote Islamic banking in their social media account, neither in their media appearances and talk shows and stuff. And I would also like to point out that probably is also due to our religious education system in Indonesia. This is my critique, so it's going to be red pill. So, but I'm open for more academic discussions on this. My critiques to Indonesian religious education is that from when we were in elementary school up to we are in high school, the material is all the same and it's not very diverse and it's not very advanced. Because I remember when I was in elementary school, I was studying about Toharoh. And up until high school, I was still studying about Toharoh. There was no discussions about Islamic finance and how it related to the real world. So that's why when we got to college and we studied this Islamic finance and the world of Sharia, that is very fascinating. It's not just about your relationship with deen, but it's also your relationship with economics and other thing, mu'amalah stuff. So I think that's why we do not really have a trust in Islamic banking, because we are not exposed from the early age. How if we revise our education system so that Islamic banking is introduced much earlier, probably we would have a different response, and we will be having like a bigger market share for that. Because just like you, I also have a double account. And I think if we have this kind of understanding about that, how Islam is playing in the economics, we probably will have a more open mind about Islamic
Yeah, that's
products.
true.
So
That's true.
what's your take about that?
Yeah, that's true. That's true, to be honest. What we do is we have constructed a curriculum, standard curriculum for university level to have standard education on Islamic economics in all universities, either state university or private university, Islamic-based university, or a general university. And also we have issued some books on Islamic economics for senior high school level, but not junior high school level. Yeah. So that is the approach that we have done so far. I wish we could go down further into elementary school. Yeah, but usually elementary school doesn't touch upon economic as a major specifically as a major. But yeah, from junior high school, they have learned economics. And junior high school, senior high school, and particularly university. Very interesting, yes, to be honest. Like in my experience, when I entered my university level bachelor degree back in 30 years ago, 30 years ago, I studied in my bachelor. There was never any mention about prohibition of riba. There was there was never ever mentioning about the Islamic banks. The one that we understand, the one that we study is always riba based, interest based economy, banking, conventional banking based economy. Yeah. Even until I joined Central Bank and I realized that there is Islamic bank, and I interested in studying more about Islamic banking. But that is the fact that Indonesia had before. Yeah. So we did some effort to solve that one. So we approached the Minister of Education. We issue some books. We make standard curriculum for Islamic economics. Like also some of our scholars, they are encouraged to be a lecturer. Like myself, I lecture in, I think I've mentioned like 13 or 15 Islamic finance program in universities, except in UGM, in
You
UGM.
are today.
Yes, Alhamdulillah. So the Indonesian scholars, Indonesian highly
Yeah.
educated on Islamic finance, are encouraged to lecture, to give materials on Islamic finance in the university.
That
But
is
still a
great.
long way to go. Still, this is a long process. We cannot expect a short-term result from this.
Well, that is very progressive, I think, because I
Mhm.
think religious education needs to be more advanced and not repetitive. There should be an introduction to critical thinking and probably hadith ahkam or tafsir ahkam, which is probably much more advanced, but that will be more relevant rather than teaching students something that is more abstract and
Yeah.
doesn't really relate to muamalah per se. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But I hope that I think the Ministry of Religious Affairs and the Ministry of Education could consider
Yeah.
our conversation today.
I think you are one of the potential candidates to pursue a later degree in Islamic finance because you are quite fluent in spelling any Arabic terms.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah, I got a degree in Sharia economics actually from when I was in bachelor. So a little bit,
Alhamdulillah.
a
No
little bit of
wonder.
knowledge
No wonder.
of that, Josh.
Alhamdulillah.
Well, okay, Mr. Rifki Ismal, has been a very fruitful discussions and very enriching. However, I think this is time that
Yeah.
that has to keep us separated at least at the moment. But I hope you can stay in touch with all the students here through LinkedIn. Is that okay if they contact you and ask you further? Because
Yeah, please. If you want to have my cell phone number, you can have a note on that. Yeah.
okay, that's great. Okay, so everybody, please, if you want to ask further questions, because I think not all questions can be accommodated today, please send him a message, and I hope that he's going to allocate sometimes in his busy schedules to reply to you all. All right, I think we are coming to the end of the sessions today. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for coming to UGM today.
Thank you, Pak Rifki.
Thank you,
Stay
Pak.
healthy
Wah,
and
stay
happy.
healthy, Prof.
Mashallah.
Insyaallah. Ketemu
Thank
lagi.
you, Pak Rifki.
Please, everyone,
Thank
a
you.
round applause for Mr. Rifki Ismal virtually, please. Thank you very much. I hope that you can come to UGM again.
Insyaallah. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak
Please
Rifki.
allow me
Thank
to
you so
leave you.
much.
Thank you, Pak.
Jadi barangkali
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam
Anyone
warahmatullahi
again, Pak
wabarakatuh.
Rifki?
Have a good rest of the
Hey,
day, sir.